Hello everyone, welcome to Live with Sirus Migration Education. It's going to be an interesting day today because we're going to focus a lot about employment visas, temporary skill shortage, TSS visa to all the way to 186 direct entry transition, all that. So if you're targeting or if you're considering to migrate through your skills in short-term basis or permanent basis to Australia to work through an employer, or if you're looking to employ someone from overseas, this is going to be a good session for you. So you can ask any questions during this session. You can contact us through any of the contact details below, or you can type your live question and we can answer you live through
either Facebook or YouTube.
And type your question on the comment section down below. And before we welcome and ask you to join, we would like to kindly request you to hit that subscribe button in YouTube. That's my favorite part, because that way we can get to you every time we promote a new immigration change or immigration rules change or a news update in relation to Australian migration or education. There are so many updates that we discuss every week. We are doing this every second Thursday, so you could connect to us and talk to us live. My name is Siriyapa. I'm an Australian registered migration agent, and I've got
Shani, I'm also a registered migration agent. Thank you all for joining in. So why we thought about talking about work visas, Australian work visas, because the work visas as we know it going to change sometimes this year.
And there's so many questions. Everyone's a bit confused, and
about
everyone's
what's
asking so many
and
questions.
Who's going to affect, who will this have an effect, and this has changed many times before COVID, after COVID, and there's going to be another change. So we thought, we will clear all of that for you as much as we know about the new changes to the work visas as well. And
both the employers and employees have these questions, and
yes.
The changes may affect different occupations, etc., etc. So we're going to talk all about it. If you have a question, we will answer it as it stands right now, right today, and we will also give you the predictions, what we think how it's going to affect you in coming months. So you can plan your path, and we can also advise you what we think we should be doing as per your eligibilities and requirements right now, right today. And also, before we move on, I would like to hear a new good news as well. Lately, there has been so many changes to education sector and migration sector. There's so many students, international students out who are here in Australia right now, who have just started, who are planning to just come in to Australia in no time, like in coming weeks, coming months. I just had one visa granted in about just before I walked in here as well for a USQ. So everyone, whoever's got a question, we are organizing this free session. We're planning to do it every Wednesday in Brisbane. So the first session is going to be on 1st of May or the 2nd of May? 1st of May. 1st of May, 42 Logan Road at Coco Lounge. So there are going to be so many universities joining us, and the Education Institute joining us to share their knowledge as well. This is going to be a free session, so it's like the live session, but in real life. So you can talk to us person to person. You can come and talk to us in person and discuss any of your migration matters. It's not going to cost you a thing. We just want to share our knowledge with you, and also possibly find you any solutions if you require any support or advice through this. So it's from 1st of May, 1 p.m. all the way through to 5 p.m. Say if we still not tired, maybe go through at 6. So it's time to hit with the employee nominated visa streams and news and stuff like that.
As I said, the reason why we thought about talking about this visa now is right now, if your occupation is in one of the visas that we talk about in one of the lists, and if you believe you're eligible for one of them, I think you should definitely approach your employer, or if it's an employer, you should definitely approach your employee and offer this opportunity before the big changes happen.
We should also talk about how it is going to be convenient, or why employers should consider this option as well.
Yeah.
These days, with the high job demand, one of the biggest problems employers facing is retaining good employees. So with these migration pathways, when you offer an employee a migration pathway, that also means they have a commitment to work for you and only you for a certain period. Like if they were to go under TSS program or the 482 program, they cannot, whether it's 2 years or 4 years, they cannot work for anyone else. That's only for you. So that's a guarantee. But if you also, in the same token, worry about that, what if I want to get rid of the position or the occupation, etc., you're free to do so. So the employee is getting a 90 days or the recommended
60 days still, but it's changing.
It's
90
changing,
days,
yeah.
So the employee can find a different employer if the employer decides to let you go.
Let you go, yeah.
So with the 482 visa, employer also has a lot of control. And as Isru mentioned, it's a really good way to retain skilled employees. So let's
start from, where do we start actually?
Let's start with the, I'll give you a bit of information about what is going to change, but it won't happen for few more months. So that's why if you're eligible under the current stream, you should apply for it. So as a part of the migration strategy...
Should we quickly run through what's this visa? Like if someone new who doesn't know, let's go about what are the employer-sponsored work streams.
Yeah.
So you have temporary streams and permanent streams. Temporary, you have 482, which is the replacement of 457 back in the days, and then you also have 494. They all also have they also are provisional visas on your way to permanent residence, if you consider that way, because
so with the new change, there was another new change happened some months back that allowed everybody who's on 482 can now apply for permanent residency.
1860
186. So that was a really big good change that happened. And same with the 494, as Isru mentioned, it's a provisional visa granted for 5 years, and if you work for the employer for 3 years, then you get permanent residency.
So why 482, why 494? There is a little catch right now as it stands, which may change in the future, but don't get confused because we are living the present. If you're eligible or if you're planning, you can still do this. So 482, depending on your occupation, you get categorized into short-term skill occupation, medium to long-term skill occupation, or regional occupation. And 482 visa doesn't have an age restriction, so it doesn't have to be below 45 or 50 or anything like that. You can come here to work as long as you are eligible. So 482 visa, you need to have 2 years work experience, vocational English. That's actually the company. Vocational English, relevant qualification, and you need to have most importantly employer to work to sponsor. So it depends on the occupation that predefine what's the qualification you're required to carry. For an example, for an accountant, you need to have a bachelor's degree. To be cook, you only have to have certificate 3 in kitchen operation these days.
You
they call
actually
it.
don't even need to have a qualification, because if you don't have a qualification, your
You can-
work experience can
be
replace your
substituted.
qualification. So for a bachelor's degree, you need 5 years work experience, and for certificate 3, you need 3 years work experience. So
So for the 482 purposes also, these qualification, this work experience doesn't have to be post qualification. It can be during your studies, or it can be after your studies as well. So I was talking to a quantity surveyor this afternoon, and this quantity surveyor just completed his bachelor's degree in February this year. But he's been working as a quantity surveyor in full list of tasks since 2019. He cannot go into 189, 190, 491, 186 just because he doesn't have enough qualification to get a skills assessment. But depending on the country, he's still he can still use his 5 years of work experience towards 482 if he were to find an employer.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. So 482 is a great visa to get through, and these days the processing time sits about
very quick.
2 months.
2
Depends
months.
on who sponsors you too.
Yeah.
Actually.
Depends on the employer and depends on your passport as well. We've got a grant fee, I think few days ago for a UK citizen. The grant came in about 1 week. So depends on your passport and the capacity of your employer. It can even be faster, but the longest it take would only be about 2 months. So let's talk about 482 now. So Isuru mentioned the work experience requirements and the qualification requirement. And as again Isuru said, there's no age requirement for 482. You can be any age, and you can include all your dependents in the visa application. To do that, they have to be in the same place as you. So whether you're onshore or offshore, it doesn't matter for 482, but your dependents has to be with you. But if they're not, what we suggest for our clients is you get the visa for yourself first, and then you can apply for subsequent entry for your dependents. For that, dependents can be in any country. They don't need to be in Australia or their home country. So the next requirement for subclass 482 is the English. Depending on where your occupation is, if your occupation is on the medium to long term list, then they need IELTS 5 in each band, that requirement for English. But
So vocational English IELTS is 5 in each band, or PTE 36 in each band.
yeah, and if your occupation is on the short term list, then you need even lower English, which is 4.5. So as you can imagine, compared to a skilled migration visa where we say come to us with 7 in each band or 6 in each band, this has a very low requirement. But do keep in mind, though, some occupations need for you to hold a license before you go to 482. For example, for registered nurse, then they do need that English 7 in each band to get your registration. So this is pretty much all you need from an employee's side. You need to have the right English, right qualification, work experience, and most importantly, the next stage is you need to have an Australian employer.
And also the beauty about this visa is there's no uncertainty as you go into general skill migration, where you work really hard and list up your points and wait for an invitation to come, and no one can guarantee that invitation will come or it will come in that stage. It's just you're just getting yourself listed. So there's a bit of a certainty in there, and it used to be a bit of a long process, but now it's much faster, expedited process. And for 482, as long as your occupation is in short-term occupation list or medium to long, it'll be okay to apply through, unless you go in through a 482 in a Dharma, and then there are incentives available there too.
Yeah, so you only need to, so the next stage of the 482, now applicant is qualified, now they have an employer. Then the employer needs to follow 2 steps. First step is called sponsorship. Sponsorship is pretty much proving that the employer is legally running a business. It can be, employer doesn't need to be Australian for this visa to work. Sometimes we have a question, maybe the company director is not Australian, or maybe they currently don't have the company in Australia, but they're planning to open a branch in Australia. This is also fine. So as long as it's a legally operating business, we can apply for the first stage, which is called the sponsorship. We need to prove business documents and financial documents to prove that the business is legally operating. And once granted, this sponsorship is valid for 5 years. And the application fee for sponsorship is $540 right now. And it takes about 2 weeks for the grant. So that's step one. And this sponsorship is not for one employee. It is for the company, and you can nominate as many employees as you want with one sponsorship. So you don't need to do it every time you get a new employee.
And also, depending on the company's background and company's turnover, you can be an accredited sponsor as well. And if you're an accredited sponsor, you can do a bunch of nomination in one go. So and also you get expedited responses within a matter of days or matter of minutes, actually, in our experience, where you get instant approvals, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it depends on the company's background in there.
I can see one question from Anuradha here saying, "Hi, I'm ICT support engineer. My occupation is on confident off list, which means game over for me for skill migration." That is not true, Anuradha. The second part of this live session today is going to be dedicated for these CSOL lists and what's going to happen. But these CSOL lists are only for the new visa that is going to replace TSS. It is not the whole Australian skilled migration occupation list. This is only going to be for the work visas from what they have told us so far.
It's a good,
so that doesn't mean that it's
Anurad, hang on there. We will
come back to you, and we will discuss about what does it mean to be off list and on list and maybe list.
Let's concentrate on the 482, and then we. So the second stage is the nomination, which I believe is the most critical and most difficult part of this application, because if you get the nomination through, then your visa application is not too difficult. But the nomination, we have to do a few things in the nomination. First and the most important from my understanding is the labor market testing. There has been so many changes and so many different directives about how to do the labor market testing. But right now, the latest information is you need to advertise your position in 2 different platforms. They don't need to be paid, but they shouldn't be like Gumtree or Facebook or these social media platforms. They have to be 2 proper recruitment sites. And the job advertisement itself have to have some information like the work experience requirement, the salary, how much, whether it's permanent or permanent full-time, the name of the employer and the location of the employer. As long as the ad contains all this and they do proper labor market testing for 28 days, and it doesn't even have to be one consecutive ad. They did say you can now use maybe 2 overlapping job advertisements in the same platform to make up for this 28 days. So the labor market testing is now successfully completed, and then the employer has to prepare a set of documents to prove that this nominated occupation is needed, it is not just created, and the company can afford to pay the salary for at least 2 years. Whether the occupation is a new vacancy or an existing vacancy.
That's right. So it is not created for the sake of the visa, and also they have to justify the salary. So that is the other most critical part of this nomination from my understanding. You need to make sure that the salary offered to the employee. So this is a good way for you to have a chat with your employer, make sure that you're getting the market salary. That's why it's very easy for a migration agent to justify and get the nomination across. So at the nomination point, they check all this, and then the next stage is the visa application. So when it comes to the visa application, I think we talked about the most parts, but I did not talk about skills assessment. Actually, I did that on purpose because I wanted to just talk about skills assessments on its own. So for general skill migration, for subclass 186, you must have a skill assessment, but for 482, not everybody needs a skill assessment. Only people from some countries where they hold that passport for some occupation need skills assessment. There's about 11 countries and there's about 16 occupations that need skills assessment. None of the other occupations or people holding other passports need a skill assessment. Even for those people, for example, if they come and did their studies in Australia, for example, to become a chef, and they have their qualification from Australia, then again you don't need a skill assessment. So it's very important to find out whether you need a skill assessment or not before you move on to your 482. This could mean 3 to 6 months of saving time if you don't need a skill assessment.
And also how fast or how quick you can get into a visa program as well. Like for most of the visa categories, like Sri Lanka, you don't need one. Some of the visa categories, if you're from Philippines or Fiji or India, then you need to come up with a skills assessment. So, but even if you're like some people are already qualified from Australia, but you're worried because your friend said that going to need a skills assessment or they needed a skills assessment. But again, as Ashani said, you don't need to have that skill assessment if you were qualified within Australia. So
yeah, and with regards to LMT as well, I forgot to mention there are some exemptions to LMT, labor market testing, which means depending on the applicant, sometimes the company does not have to do labor market testing. So again, talk to a migration agent and find out in your specific scenario whether you need to do labor market testing or not. This can again save 1 month and a lot of money and hassle.
So if you're from like Malaysia, UK, Canada, USA, a lot of other countries, then you don't have to do the labor market testing. As Ashana said, 1 month. So otherwise you have to be doing that labor market testing for 4 weeks.
Yeah, and the reason for this is sometimes Australia has free trade agreement with these countries, and that agreement allows these applicants to be exempt from labor market testing. That is the reasoning behind it. So I think we covered subclass 482. Before you move on to 186, do you want to answer some of the questions?
Yeah, so we'll be before we go to 186, actually, let's talk about 494 briefly as well.
Yeah.
Before we go to 494 and 186, again, we'll quickly go through some of your questions. We won't take much time for the questions because we want to go through 494 and 186. If there are longer answers, we will ask you to contact us directly so we can discuss further about your question. So,
Rishi is asking, how about electronic or electrical technician? So as long as your occupation, electrical is a bit tricky because you need to have a license and it's very difficult to get the license in Australia. But for technician or that lower levels where you don't need a skills assessment, as long as your occupation is on the list and you have a qualification plus 2 years, or you don't have a qualification plus 5 years, don't have a qualification and 5 years, yes, you will be eligible to apply for subclass 482.
Most of the electrical technicians work under an electrician, licensed electrician, so you don't need to have
the license
yourself. But again, time to time, check properly if you were to apply. But you need to find an electrical company or like whoever is sponsoring you also need to have a license, so they need to justify your occupation as well.
Yeah, and Dilruksh is asking, what are the requirements for civil engineering technician? Yes, that's definitely available for
advanced diploma in civil. So depending on your course, some people call it associate, like that's the education requirement. And then depending on what you're going to do with it, like what you, the question is to
general, yes. So Danushka is asking, under 482 visa for self-employed person, how will it be effect? That's a really good question. I don't know whether you're saying that you're currently self-employed. So to answer, if you are currently self-employed and if you find another person to employ you, it is fine. We can show work experience even if you work for yourself. We do this all the time. So
we've actually done one lately. We
do many
electrical
Yeah,
like
and
last
also
week,
like motor mechanics, sometimes they have their own ABN. They go and work either in their own garage or for someone else, but they have their own business. It is fine to prove work experience, but the other side of this question, if you want to self-sponsor yourself for 482, it is difficult. It's not impossible, but there are some questions and there are some extra criteria that we have to fulfill. If you're going to self-sponsor yourself, the department will look at it very strictly. So we need to prove that you deserve to get this visa. So not impossible, but extremely difficult, but we've done it. So Ryan's asking what work. Sorry, Ryan, maybe retype the question a bit more clearly.
Janice Thomas, Mr. and Mrs. How long does it take to get
a visa grant for 482 employer sponsorship? It's about 2 months, 3 months from start to end, Janice.
At this stage.
Yeah, Chamika,
how to join this?
How to join this?
So if you're talking about this session, you can go through YouTube or Facebook. But if you're talking about the event on 1st of May onwards, you can come, just walk in on between 1 and 5 on Wednesday, the 1st of May. The address is 42 Logan Road, Coco Lounge. So there'll be a lot of universities and registered migration agents there discussing with you. You don't really need to pay anything, or you don't need to make pre-arrangement, but if you were to contact us and allocate a time, so the team can make sure you don't have extensive delays to wait for an agent to talk to.
So Chatura is asking, hi Siru, if you have already applied and received state sponsorship on business category, will it be possible to apply under this work sponsorship visa under different category like business partners or shipping and logistics manager?
Hi Chatura. Yeah, of course. If you're currently in the business visa categories, you can still apply for 482 or 186 visa. You just need to go through the process. You need to find an employer who's willing to sponsor you, and that your qualification should match to the employer's requirements.
Yeah, so it is possible.
It is possible.
So Nivanti is asking, how about national, international player coaching? Some of these occupations are on the list. As long as it's on the list, get in touch with us if you're not sure. If your occupation is on the list, we should be able to tell you straight away after talking to you for a while. And if it is there, and if you have an employer who's willing to give you a job, yes, it is possible, Nivanti. Purnima is asking, how about teaching science? Again, teachers are on the medium to long term list. It's a bit tricky because teachers again now they need the registration, so that high English, and they need to have a registration.
For teachers, you need to have IELTS 8877 in academic to be able to get the registration. That's when you get that and find an employer. Like these days, finding an employment is not a tough one under a teacher because there's so many vacancies out there. But getting the registration and getting that,
tough, yeah.
It's depending on your background, it can be.
So Vasanta is asking, how about land survey for 482? Definitely, yes, it is possible.
Yeah, land survey is a good occupation. There's so many opportunities there too.
Yeah,
my dad's a land surveyor.
Charlita is asking, are there job vacancies for HVAC technicians?
HVAC,
I have
the
5
air conditioning.
And, yes, it is possible. Air conditioning and refrigeration technicians, yes.
Overall 5, yes, you can go through 482. There's actually so many opportunities for HVAC operators. Don't always concentrate on metropolitan employers. Try the regional employers as well. There's so many occupations, so many vacancies are out there.
Yeah, Arindu is saying willing to have a consultation. Yes, please get in touch with us. You can call us, email us. All our information is on the screen. Happy to give you a consultation. And Chamri is saying, what about early childhood education?
Cindy.
Sorry.
Are there vacancies for chefs?
Chefs.
So many.
Yes, but we don't personally do the recruitment. So we can refer you to a recruiter that we work with. If you find a job, then we can definitely assist with the visa.
Visa ka.
And Charmer is asking early childhood education. Yes, early childhood educator is again on the medium to long term list, and you will be able to, if you have an employer, it is possible.
Okay, quickly, let's run through because we dedicated this for employee nominated.
Yes, let's go through the 494.
Before we come
right?
to YouTube, quickly, we'll quickly go through 494 now. So 494 and 482 is very similar. 494 has relaxed requirements in certain ways. So like there's a caveat for accountants for 482 where the employee needs to have 5 Australian employees and $1 million turnover before they can sponsor someone. But if the employer is in regional area and if they don't have that 1 million turnover and 5 employees, they can still do it under 494. So 482, 494 otherwise are very similar.
Yeah, I'll just quickly go through the differences. To go through to apply for 494, your employer or the location that you work must be in regional. So if it's in the city, then you can't apply for 494.
Technically in Australia, like when you take Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, about 50-60 kilometer diameter outside of the city fringe, everywhere else is regional.
Yeah. So the other requirement difference from the employee side is how we talked about you don't need to have a qualification and you can have just work experience. So for this, you need to have post qualification at least 3 years full-time work experience, and your English has to be competent, which means 6 in each band, and you need to have a skills assessment. So these requirements are more similar to the 186 visa that we are going to talk about next. But the benefit of going for the 494 with the stricter requirement is simply because the occupation list for 494 is vast. It's all the occupation list, which is MLTSS, the short-term list, and the regional occupation list. If your occupation is on any of these lists, you can apply for 494. That is the benefit of going for the 494, given that you're going to be working in regional. Other than that, the requirements are pretty similar. From the employer side, you don't need to do a sponsorship, but you do need to do a nomination, but also you have to do RCB, which is apply to the regional council and get the approval. Again, we handle all that process from the employer side or from your side. All you need to do is provide us with the documentation and the information. All the lodgements and preparations will be done by a migration agent.
So yeah, English requirements a little higher for this category, unlike the 482's area, and some other eligibility criteria is much more relaxed. You have a wider range of occupations available as well. So 494 can be a good category to consider.
As long as you're under 45. So 494, unlike 482, has an age requirement. The applicant has to be under 45 before at the time of lodgement.
And majority of these visas, general skill migration and work visas, you don't require academic English unless that specific occupation requires, like teachers going to need academic English, IELTS 8877. Majority of the other occupations, IELTS, OPTE is okay, and it doesn't have to be academic. It can be either academic or general streams as well.
Yeah. So that's about subclass 494. If you need any further, if you have any further inquiries, or if you want to know if you're eligible for 494, again, get in touch with us. We offer free consultations for employee-nominated visas. We are more than happy to check your profile, talk to your employer, answer any questions they have to clarify things and start the process for you.
We'll quickly hit some of the answers for YouTube listeners, and then quickly come back to 186 visa category, which is the golden section of employee-nominated scheme, because that gets you to permanent residency, and we'll talk about how you can get to 186 and what are the requirements, etc., and how it varies from the other categories. So YouTube, we went through Anuradha's, right? And then Balwinder 186 sponsorship application for approval. Processing time for 186 application for approval, it can take up to about 6 months to 12 months these days.
I think he is processing and waiting. He's got
Yeah.
another question. Processing time for direct PR sponsorship applications for approval. These days about 6 to 9 months,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So make sure you put a decision ready complete application as well. That way it can be faster. When a case officer is allocated, they can quickly make a decision if there's any clarifications. If they ask for further information request, response promptly, so you can expedite the process altogether. Rishi Raj, you got a few questions. How about the requirements for work as a electrical or electronic technician? Again, you need to have the qualification, work experience, and the English requirement. How about the qualification level 5 enough? Diploma levels mostly enough, but you're going to have the proper work experience for that. And are there any opportunities for garment machinery maintenance? Of course, again, we need to define your ANSCO qualification for this. IELTS is required for work as an electrical or electronic technician. Well, depends on the visa category. If you go for 482, it's vocational English, or depending on the workplace as well. So Harsh Pandya, how about parents PR? Off the topic, Harsh, but there are many categories: permanent residency, temporary 5-year, temporary 3-year, and
yeah, please get in touch with us, Harsh. We
We'll
will have a chat with you. We need to see which visa your parents are eligible. After talking to you, figuring out who's in your family, and if you meet the balance of family test, we'll give you advice. Please send us an email, admin@sirus.com.au.
And Fung Nguyen, can the secondary applicant apply 191 themselves after they stay for 3 years on
494.
visa for 494? Absolutely, yes. As long as they fulfill the requirement.
For the 191.
191.
Yes.
So they need to be living and working in a regional area. That's one of the main parts of it.
Yeah.
So let's quickly go through 186 because time's going so
I
fast.
know today. So subclass 186, my favorite. This is permanent residency through
Depends on the
employer-nominated visa. It's such a great visa for employees because you are getting direct permanent residency, but you do have a requirement to work for the employer for at least 2 years since grant of your subclass 186. Let's go through the requirements from the employee side. So there's 3 categories, main categories of subclass 186. First one is the 186 direct entry, for which you need to be under 45 years as the main applicant. You need to hold a skills assessment. You need to have at least 6 in each band of your English or PT 50.
Compete in English.
Yes, you need to have a qualification plus 3 years of full-time work experience. This experience can be in Australia, outside Australia, it doesn't matter. For this visa, you don't need to be in Australia, or you don't need to be working for the employer who's going to nominate you. Actually, this is another big question that I get asked all the time. So do you need to have the work experience with your current employer, or can this experience be with few employers?
Multiple employers. Yeah.
Or do you need to be working for the current employer at the time of lodging the 482 or any of these work visas? The answer is no. So you can be not in Australia, you can be never visited Australia, but you got a job offer from an Australian company, you are still eligible. I hope that answers these questions that we get. So again, the age under 45, English, skills assessment, work experience and qualification. As long as you have that and you have an employer willing to give you a job with a minimum salary of 70,000 Australian dollars, you are good to apply for subclass 186. The only bad part about subclass 186 is the processing time compared to subclass 482. The processing can take all the way up to 9 to 10 months sometimes. So employers don't really want to wait that long to get the new recruit in. So in this case, what we normally do, we apply for a 482, bring them here quickly, and then we go through the 186 process in order to get them the permanent residency. The cost of this visa, there is something called SAF levy, which is paid from the employer, which is about $3,000 if the employer's turnover is under 10 mil and $5,000 if it's over 10 mil. So that is the requirement from the employer. The cost of the visa application is $4,640. That is for the main applicant, and if you have secondary applicants, there's obviously going to be other extra visa application fees. So once the employee is eligible, then we look at the employer side. Again, this is only a two-step process. There is no sponsorship. There's only nomination and visa application. For the nomination, then we look at the employer to see again if this is a genuine position, is it created, or is it existed? Were there any Australians hired that were fired recently to give this position? Can the employer afford this position? Is it a new business? And again, it is fine if your employer is a new business, a startup, they just started the business. It is fine again for all three subclasses, 494, 186, 482. Sometimes people have this wrong impression the employer has to be 1 year old. There is no such thing, but the case is going to be a bit tough because we need to prove that the new business can survive 2 years to provide this employment. So for that we use several documents like your business activity statements, profit and loss statements, registrations, organizational charts. So we use all of this information plus sometimes a business plan to prove that this business is they can afford this position and it is needed for the position. So that is subclass 186, and at the end you get permanent residency. Good thing about including your family for this subclass 186 is all the applicants who are over 18, they have to again sit for an English test and get functional English, or they have to pay a second installment of about $4,500 if they don't do the English, but they can be anywhere to include them. So for 482, I said they have to be in the same place, but subclass 186, they can be in Australia, outside Australia. They don't need to be in the same location as you.
So 186 also has two streams. One is direct entry, one is the transitional program. So direct entry, you need to have the skills assessment, 3 years work experience, and the compete in English in general for majority of the occupations. Whereas TRT, you don't need to have a skills assessment because you need to come through a 482 visa. So you have to be in the 482 TRT visa for at least 2 years. It used to be 3 years before, don't get it mixed up. Now it's 2 years, and then apply for 186 TRT category. English requirement still is compete in English, which is IELTS 6 in each band or PTE 15 in each band, unless your occupation requires otherwise.
Yeah. So that is subclass 186, direct entry and TRT explained for you.
So 186 direct entry, one other thing is if you wanted to go through 186 direct entry, you need to have your occupation in medium to long term skill occupation list. And I know we use the consolidated occupation list, which is amalgamation between the medium to long term and the short term list for TRT program, but still 186 direct entry, you need to have your skill occupation in medium to long term list. These things there are a lot of discussions about changing the list, getting rid of occupations, etc., etc. Don't worry too much. If you're ready, do it now.
Yeah.
And if you want an employee get ready, do it now, because there'll be most of these changes might come to effect in after end of June, like in the next financial year starting from 1st of July. If you're ready, if you want this, don't stress about tomorrow, just do it now. And if you haven't planned how to work out your pathways, or if you think there are changes on your pathway, happy to have a chat. Just give us a call on any of these numbers listed down below, or send us an email, or I don't know, Mario's got so many ways to contact us. You can even type it in there.
Yeah, get in touch with us. But before we go any further, as I promised, I want to quickly go through the new changes happening, because that's the big talk of the town. So the TSS as we know it, or the 482, is going to change. This is a part of the migration strategy released on 11th of December 2023. Right now, there is the new occupation list is going to be called CSOL, which is Core Skill Occupation List. So that is what's going to replace the MLTSS and all these other lists. This is for TSS. This is for 482, or the new visa is called Skills in Demand, or the SID. That's the new visa that's going to come. It's going to have 3 stages. First is the occupations with a salary of 135,000 or more, and the second one is the 70,000, the mid-range occupations, and the last one is going to be the core skills, or the technicians and those lower skill level, certificate 3 kind of level skilled occupations. So as a part of this, right now they are deciding which occupations are going to be on the list. So a lot of people are looking at these lists and thinking, oh, I am done, because my occupation is on a list that says this is completely going to be off the list. But I just want you to understand, this is just a discussion, and this is open for suggestions from anyone to see where the list, where your occupation should be on this list or not. So don't focus on this too much. It's good to look at it and plan your permanent residency pathway accordingly. As we suggested, apply for it now if you're eligible. But if not, it's a good indication of what might happen. But right now it's going through discussions, and later on it is going to be passed, and then the immigration minister, they will release the final list of occupation and legislate it. When that happens, that's only when the new the visa is going to come into effect. So we are hoping maybe latter part of this year the process will come into effect.
There are changes getting introduced every year on the new financial year with the budget and all that sort of things. So don't stress too much. If you are eligible now, do it now. So you're still going through this. There can be the new changes are always scary, but beneficial for some, adverse for someone else. But if you're qualified, act now. So the present is always better than the future and the past, I guess.
Yeah.
So
a few questions.
We'll go back to a few questions again. Also, I would like to give everyone an opportunity. I'm presenting this as my idea, but it's actually Mario's idea. If you have any topic that you would like us to talk next time, please let us know. So whether it's parents visa, general skill migration, we can make that a topic and give you a lot of information during this session, and discuss more. So I think we'll have to do another session of this employee nominated scheme soon, because there are so many things to discuss. And I hope that you understood some of these new changes, or what's the TSS going to look like. I think it's 2018 or 2016. 2018 or so they changed where we went through an overhaul of 457. It's just got abolished. Then 187 disappeared. So this happens every now and then. It's been 5 years now. So the name's going to be changed. The
occupation list is going to be changed, but we don't know too much in detail what it's going to look like.
It's not going to be all I think it's going to be all positive news. It's going to be it's good to have some changes. There are a few spots needs to be retuned. I think this one gives a fairly good opportunity for a lot of people as well. Like these days, some employers genuinely struggle because the benchmark for 482 right now is minimum salary threshold is $70,000 plus superannuation. So even though it's okay for many many employers, there are some employers the market salary for them is not 70,000 for certain occupations. So this one will give the opportunity for those people who's disadvantaging also.
So let's just answer some questions. I've got
Purnima
saying I have
Nilanti.
I'm hospital side now. I'm working as nursing assistant, I guess.
Nursing sister.
Yeah.
So in Sri Lanka. So Purnima, working offshore as a nurse, nurses have a registration process for your occupation. So you need to get your nursing registration in Australia. So AFRA looks into two different parts: your education qualification comparative to Australian system, and also your work experience. So in majority of the cases, the qualifications do not 100% match with Australian system. So you might have to come and fulfill or complete some of the units that you have missed to get the AFRA registration. So you'll be talking about completing a bachelor's degree or a master's degree in nursing, and proceeding your way into nursing afterwards. So also one other thing is to become a nurse, there is an English requirement on top of your qualification, which is you need to have proficient English. So IELTS 7 in each band, or 65 or above in PTE as well.
Yeah. So Purnima is asking, I have construction site supervisor 12 years experience and NVQ level 4 completed. What are the job requirements? I need to check where your occupation is at, Purnima. On top of my head, I can't remember construction site supervisor occupation. Again, get in touch with us. I'm happy to check and see which occupation list, if your occupation is there.
If you go as a construction project manager, then it's going to you're going to need to have a bachelor's degree or higher, and
she's got 12 years work experience, which will cover for the bachelor's degree. So that can always
be substituted to your work experience. So you might have an opportunity to go through 186 program as well. Again, age matters, English matters, the qualification matters, and the work experience matters. Maybe if you like, set up an appointment with one of us through any of these contact details below, so we can discuss it further. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining. No, I think before we close up, Ashan is in a rush to go, so we got a couple more minutes to finish. Okay. We have to go through some of we were talking about going through some of the visa grants last couple of days. Mario handpicked a couple of visa grants, and he wants us to talk about a bit of the background. So 482, Mario, who it is. Medium to long term metal fabricator. That's the Victorian one, right? Yeah. Metal fabricator. Do you remember the background? Where was he from? Oh, yes. So this was, again, yes, granted in a very short time. The applicant came here on a working holiday and found a job in a regional farm, not a farm, but I can't give you too much details about the employer. And then they really liked him, and we did a subclass 482 visa, going from the working holiday straight into a subclass 482 work visa, and the visa came through within 2 weeks, and he's really happy. Applicants from Estonia. And the other one? India. And occupation? Yes. You can't tell it. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So it's a diesel motor mechanic, again, for one of our biggest clients. Accredited sponsor. So the nomination got approved on the spot, and the visa came in about 1 week.
Again, this is Sri Lanka, diesel motor mechanic, medium to long term list. He applied with his family, so he included the wife and the 2 children, and he got the visa for 3 years. The visa got granted, I think this visa came through today, and we applied again about a week ago, and he is booking his flights right now.
We didn't get any of the student visa grants there. We had the latest one. We had one of the master's degree applicants for USQ from Sri Lanka. Just got granted. Yesterday we've got quite a few granted. One for QUT, one PNG client from for what was the Bachelor of International Business or something like that. So we got handpicked backgrounds. So thank you so much for joining and sharing your questions and answers. We want to share our knowledge with you as much as we can possibly afford as well. We need to be working, but again, that's one of the reasons why we setting up this workshop or the exhibition or the seminar in a much more relaxed place outside of the office, because we cannot gather so many people, and the parking also quite relaxed in Wollongabba at Coco Lounge. So every Wednesday, every second Wednesdays from 1st of May, myself, Ashani, lots of education agents, other migration agents, and majority of the university is going to be there as well to support you, discuss your matters, and this doesn't cost you anything. I'm always wanting to target this for our international students as a support network. If you're an international student, we all came from a background like that. If you face any question, any problem, come and talk. I know you're away from your parents, your day-to-day paradigms, your family, and you would have been here for a couple of weeks, couple of months. It can be a simple question of finding accommodation or finding some work experience, or discussing. You hear all these visa changes and that stresses you. Your friends tell you some stuff, and you come with a big dream to do certain things. So we gotta. Mario's telling me to bugger off. So we gotta get closer to you and support you. So Wednesdays, come and see us from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Starting from 1st of May. So at 42 Logan Road, Coco Lounge, and we will be posting our things, information soon. If you haven't subscribed on channel, hit that subscription button. If you haven't subscribed to our Facebook, hit that like button, yeah. Follow us, and then now Mario's going to turn me out. So
all right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
See you guys in 2 weeks' time.